Hello, this is Summer Art Academy at the Knoxville Museum of Art. My name is Hannah, and I will be teaching Process Play Part 3 for 3 and 4-year-olds. Welcome back, artists. Again, my name is Miss Hannah. Today we will be using some of the tools and skills we learned in Part 2 in new ways. We will explore stamping and printmaking by creating our own stamps, using stamping tools, and exploring color mixing using paint. Are you ready? Hello friends, today we will be making our own stamps using sticky backed foam, like this, a thick piece of foam to be the actual backing. If you don't have access to a thick piece of foam like this, you can use an old lid, a cup or container to do the same things. In order to create the shapes for our stamps, we're going to be using scissors and practicing our scissor skills. Remember, whenever we use scissors, we keep them closed until we're ready to use them, always cut away from our bodies, and never put our hands in front of where we're cutting. What I'm going to do is start cutting shapes. Now, I can do zigzags. I can do straight cuts. I can even cut small shapes. Once I have a few pieces that I like, I'm going to take off the adhesive and stick it onto my foam. A little trick for adult helpers: the sticky back foam typically comes in large sheets like this. So I'm using a smaller sheet. Some of our artists will love to use the bigger sheets, but if we're having trouble maneuvering the big sheets, just cut a smaller piece off and use it instead. And see, I cut a big piece that's a bit too big. So I'm just going to make it smaller and stick it on my foam. And as I said earlier, you can also use household recycled items such as lids and do the same thing. Next, friends, we are going to use our stamps to create prints. For this, you are going to need some paint. I like primary colors for my paint, so red, yellow, and blue, because I can then mix all the other colors. You can use other colors if you want, but I'd like you to challenge yourselves by starting with these 3. You'll also need paper, and you can choose either big or small. This is 9 by 12, this is 12 by 18. I like to cover a pretty big space, so I'm going to go with the big piece. To make my stamp, I'm going to take my paintbrush and add paint to my paintbrush. I'm getting a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow on my brush, and I'm going to brush it on my designs. And you'll notice I'm kind of taking my time because I don't want to make a big mess, but I'm also going slow enough that I keep my paint on the top part of my stamp. Once you have paint on your design and you know it's pretty well covered, you're going to place it down on the paper. Remember, once you put it down, do not pick it back up until you're ready. I'm going to press as hard as I can with both hands, pick up, and here's my stamp. I'm going to do the same thing for those of you who might have used a lid. Maybe this time, should I add some blue to see what happens? I like to use the paintbrush to add paint because it lets the paint go on pretty evenly, but I'm going to also show you an alternative way to stamp. Check out that with all 3 colors. If you want to do a more traditional ink pad stamping, you can put some paint very thinly on a lid or a plate. Remember to always have adult permission before you raid your kitchen cabinets. And then I'm going to dip my stamp into the paint and press it down. And here it is. But do you see how much clearer the first one we did with the paintbrush is? I do like this method better, but you can experiment and see which one works best for you. Now there's other ways we can make prints and add texture. One of my favorites is using bubble wrap. We're going to, and this is the nice poppy bubble wrap, if I can get it to pop, there we go. You are going to put your paint and paint it onto the popping side of the bubble wrap, so the raised side of the bubble wrap. And again, for this, I can work faster. If you work too slow, your paint will start drying before you're ready. And I'm just letting my colors mix on the bubble wrap. If you don't like to mix your colors like this, you can use different brushes or even use water to rinse your brush in between. But remember, you have to be able to move quickly. Once I have my bubble wrap covered, I'm going to turn it over and press down. Here's my first print with bubble wrap. I'm going to move it around and see what happens when I press it again. Here's my second print with bubble wrap. I can also, again, asking adult permission, raid your kitchen for things you're not using, like a plastic fork, an old cup, or even a cap. And again, you can either paint the items or dip them in paint and use them to create stamping tools. Now I'm going to challenge you to get your own paper and see how much you can cover with your stamps. Thank you for joining me for part 3 of Process Play. Today we learned how to use different materials to create texture and created our own stamps. Next time we will be exploring air dry clay. Again, be prepared for some mess making.